Well, good morning and good afternoon. Good to see you all. There's a collection of koans called the Miscellaneous Collection. It comes from the Harada Yasatani Diamond Sangha tradition. And there's a koan that's got 4 lines that I really like, so I wanted to share that today and talk about it line by line. It goes like this. The leaves of the lotus are round, round, rounder than a mirror. The edge of the water nut is sharp, sharp, sharper than an awl. When the wind blows, the willow seed floats off. When the rain beats down on the peach blossom, the butterfly jumps up. So the leaves of the lotus are round, round, rounder than a mirror. The moon is round. Teacups are round. When we make mandalas, we often make them round. Zafu's are round. The middle part of a flower is often round. Drums are often round, and so are bells. Round is kind of perfect. Round is like a symbol of perfection. The moon is a symbol of enlightenment, and it does illuminate us. In the dark of night, the moon illuminates us. It's like round includes everything. When I try to imagine the universe, which we can't imagine an infinitely expanding universe really, but when I do, the way I imagine it, and I think many other people do too, it's a little bit, we start at the center, and it's like water rippling on a pond, and it just keeps on going. Just keeps on going out. But it's sort of round. We don't tend to imagine the universe as a square or a triangle going out. We think more of a circle going out in all directions, sort of equally in all directions. So in this koan, the leaves of the lotus are round, round, rounder than a mirror. And of course they are round. And a mirror reflects everything without discriminating. A mirror doesn't choose to reflect some things and not others. A mirror reflects anything that comes before it. Anything and everything is reflected by a mirror. And the mirror isn't damaged by whatever it reflects. Whatever touches the surface of the mirror doesn't damage the mirror. So this image of this line, a lotus leaf, is round, round, rounder than a mirror, has the effect, or can have the effect when we contemplate this line, of really being very spacious and inclusive. Bigger, 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 rounder, 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 including everything. Leaving nothing out. Seeing the essential perfectness of everything. Even circumstances that are terrible, they're perfect in that They are the way they are because of causes and conditions. It's not a mistake in that sense. We can sit with this image of roundness and just observe roundness in our environment. Clocks are round, the clock here is round. Buddha's belly sometimes is sort of round. There's one up there, big round belly. Our pupils are round. Our faces are kind of round. It can help us just simply to appreciate roundness. Koans are like that. We can work with them very creatively. Whatever their particular point in terms of the history of that particular koan and the point it is making, there are still myriads of other things that can be awakened in us from contemplating koans. So just contemplating a mirror and the fact that a mirror reflects everything and isn't harmed by whatever it reflects, that in itself is a beautiful practice. And so is roundness. It's contemplating roundness. And it feels gentle too, roundness, because it's a curve. There's something gentle about curves. We don't really have, weapons don't tend to be curvy. Some are a bit curvy, but they have a sharp edge. Generally, weapons aren't curvy. They're sort of straight. So just contemplating this is kind of gentle. It's a gentle line. But then the next line is, the edge of the water nut is sharp, sharp, sharper than an awl. And if you like, you can look up on Google Images what a water nut is like. It's sort of round, but it's got a very sharp point. And an awl is a tool that's got a wooden handle and a long metal point. I have used them in the past. I was trying to remember where I've used them. I think maybe in leather work or copper work for puncturing holes, and etching for scratching. Maybe they're used in wood carving. So this line, the edge of the water nut is sharp, sharper, sharper than an awl. This has got a really different feeling to the first line. This is more a feeling of maybe difficulty or pain, or very pointedness, sort of not spacious but very pointed. One point in time, one moment in time. And that's the way it is sometimes. Sometimes things are sharp. Sometimes things hurt. Or some things are unexpected. And maybe one of the greatest ways to be skillful in this life is to be able to, in the moment of something sharp, totally be with the sharpness. Just totally be with the fact of the sharpness. If we can be like that. Someone has a sharp tongue and they say something mean. If we can be just 100% with the sharp, mean words from their tongue before we do anything. When we can be with that sharpness 100%, then we're much more likely to do something skillful rather than just reactive, rather than coming from a kind of self-defense, self-concern point. I was talking to someone about this koan the other day, and I was holding a cup. Was it like a teacup? And we were discussing the roundness of the cup. And then we also talked about how it was stained from the tea on the inside, and how that was a bit like the sharpness, like, this cup is stained. This is a grubby cup. This is a dirty cup. It's not a clean cup. And the best thing to do if you have a grubby cup, a stained cup in front of you, isn't to just reject it. The thing is to go, this is it. This is a stained cup. This has got stains on it. There's drip marks on the outside. There's that sort of tanniny brown on the inside. And then we can decide what to do about it. We can say, it doesn't matter. It can go a couple more days. Or we can say, I think I'll wash it. What we actually decide is really just a matter of how we engage with the precepts in terms of not doing harm. But before we can engage with the precepts around being skillful and not doing harm and wanting to be of benefit in the world, we have to see the sharpness. If we don't see the sharpness, we will make mistakes and cause harm even when we're trying not to. So the water nut is sharp, sharp, sharper than it all. It's just how life is. Things are not fair in the conventional sense, in terms of morality, sort of moral, a sense of like bad things shouldn't happen to good people, but bad things happen to good people. So we need to be with that and not be... it's not about being complacent about it or passive about it. It's just being with the fact of it first. Being with the sharpness first. And we just get so many opportunities every day. Every day little things don't quite go right. Every day little things are a bit sharp. Probably if we could add them up, it was probably hundreds of times a day. Often just very little, just little. Can't find something, oh there it is. Little tiny things like that. And some a bit bigger, some more serious. So there's lots and lots of sharpness in our days. And we can think about this line. There's nothing wrong with the water nut. The water nut is sharp, sharper, sharper than an awl. It's just how it is. And awls are sharp. They serve a purpose. And of course, we have lots of teachings about the benefit of being with sharpness and letting sharpness teach us, letting sharpness make us wise and compassionate beings. So sharpness is good in a certain kind of way. Sharpness is good. We wouldn't want it to all be soft and round. We need the sharp. When we get the sharp, we can benefit from it. Then the next line is, when the wind blows, the willow seed floats away. So this is like it's horizontal. The wind blows and the willow seed floats away. It's another gentle image, the wind blowing. And willows, we think of them as sort of soft. They're a soft kind of tree. The branches flow down and the leaves dangle down. When the wind blows, the whole willow tree branches, they're very thin. They move with the wind. It's beautiful to watch willow trees in the wind. They move with the wind really beautifully, and they sound lovely. And the seed from the willow is sort of fluffy, and it floats off into the air and drifts long distances. So the willow tree needs the wind so that its seed can float off and land somewhere fertile and grow. That's how willow trees grow. They need the wind. And the wind needs the willow tree. Wind needs to have some sort of substance like atmosphere and clouds and moisture and objects for it to function. And it needs things that we can see with our eyes for us to see it. Like we can't see wind unless there's a willow tree. We can't see wind unless there's a cloud. So they're mutually dependent upon each other. There's no wind in outer space. There's no atmosphere. There's no clouds. There's no willow trees. So this is a relationship here going on. There's a relationship between the wind, the willow tree, and the seed, and the future little sprout. So this relationship of cause and effect is kind of what makes us alive. We're alive because of this relationship between things. We breathe in, our lungs expand. We breathe out, the lungs contract. And when we do that, the oxygen goes in. It's like the wind goes into our bloodstream. And the carbon dioxide comes out. So we should love this cause and effect. We should love it. It's life affirming. It's what makes life happen. We have a living body, and it needs this dynamic relationship between things to exist. So this image for me is quite a horizontal image. The wind blowing gently sideways, the willow branches sort of tilting sideways, and then the blossom floating off. And the last line is sort of more vertical. When the rain beats down on the peach blossoms, the butterfly jumps up. So the rain comes down and the butterfly jumps up. So this again is a slightly sort of sharper image. The wind and the willow tree is more gentle. This is a little more sharp. The rain kind of beats down. The rain's beating down. It's hitting the leaves, it's hitting the petals, it's hitting the branches. They're being jiggled about by the rain, and the butterfly jumps up. Or flies up. The butterfly reacts and responds and moves to care for itself. The butterfly doesn't really want to have too much rain on it, so the butterfly jumps up, it flies up to go seek shelter. Because it's alive, it's a living butterfly. Just like we have this living body, we need to move it, we need to care for it, we have to eat and drink and sleep and keep warm and cool down and be with friends, be with community, do things with our mind, use our creativity. We need to engage. When the rain beats down, we fly up. So in this sense, there's kind of nothing wrong. Everything can be worked with, whether it's round, whether it's sharp, whether it's horizontal or vertical. This is our life. And what we really want to do is try to be with our life wholeheartedly, be in this world wholeheartedly, not be preoccupied with our thoughts at the expense of missing the world, missing the roundness and the sharpness and the wind and the rain. Reality in the world includes our thoughts, but people have a tendency to preference their thoughts over everything else. That might actually be true. I'm not 100% sure that it is true, but people do preference their thoughts a great deal, and it may well be, if we could track what people are doing, it might well be that they spend more than 50% of the time engaged with their own thinking than with their environment. And the more awakened we are, the more we engage with our environment. And the more at ease and happy and grateful we are. Just the way it is. Because the whole world is so much more abundant than what we can think. Our thoughts are a construction. So that's all I wanted to share today, kind of a bit of a shorter talk. Just wanted to talk about those 4 lines. So would anyone like to comment or ask a question? I might not be able to see everyone because I'm kind of on pin. Maybe I'll unpin now. There, okay, Bill.
Yeah, thanks, Neti. I just wanted to say that was a really beautiful talk. Yeah, all the imagery was really beautiful. So yeah, thank you.
Yevgeny?
Yes, it is beautiful, and it just speaks directly to us, saying that our life can be and will be very different, very kind of versatile. We will experience all sorts of things. Something will embrace us. Something will cut us with something sharp. Something will force us to change location, for example. So the new life can start somewhere else, or the other life can become refreshed from our movement, or life can force us just to jump very unexpectedly when we feel very comfortable sitting on a beautiful flower. So yeah, it speaks of many aspects of our life, and probably helps us um, to kind of stop thinking of our life as something permanent, and also helps us to to think of it as something comfortable, like very comfortable. It can change any moment, and it has all of those aspects have many meanings and really great things might happen in our life. So kind of embrace it and enjoy the ride. Don't stuck. Yeah, it's all good.
So if you weren't able to hear all of that, Yevgeny said we should embrace our life and enjoy the ride. You get a thumbs up.
It's going to be interesting.
It's going to be interesting. That's right. Life is not boring.
If it's boring, it's not going to last. Probably.
Yeah. If it's boring, it's not going to last, probably, said Yevgeny. Because there's resistance there. Boredom is actually resistance. Boredom is a form of anger. Boredom is resisting. This is boring. It's a resistance to the way things are. Resisting the sharpness, resisting the roundness. Yeah. It's interesting looking closely sometimes at some of these emotions. We have this word boredom. If you look at it more closely, it's kind of in the anger spectrum. It's just a sort of a passively, it appears passively. but it's, I don't like what's going on. I want it to be different to how it is. It's boring the way it is now. Yeah, yeah. It's always good to try to look at the layers. What lies behind that word, that concept? All right. Well, thank you for making this possible. We can finish with our chanting.